Hello everybody and welcome back to Season 37 of PSGL PlayStation F2, powered by GT Omega. That is a lot of rain. We'll come to that in just a moment. Today, we travel back across the Atlantic Ocean, returning to Europe for round number 3 of this already extremely exciting and enthralling championship season for, as you can see, the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring. Everybody on the wet compound tyres to start off with, as you would expect. It's a track that encourages overtaking wheel-to-wheel action, as well as potentially presenting multiple strategic options, especially if we see weather similar to this in the main race, and we could see some safety cars as well, which should be expected judging what we've seen in previous races around this circuit and what we've seen in the first 2 rounds of this season. Last week in Miami was another thrilling race. I think you can agree, following on from the brilliant season opener we had in Silverstone just 2 weeks ago, with Moustache pulling clear of the field after a late safety car, leaving a big group of drivers battling it out for the final 2 spots on the podium. They were in the end claimed by Casper Flack and ET8 Paul, who edged out Jan right at the end of the race. The driver of the Pink Panther car recovered from a qualifying ban, swiftly and cleanly making his way through the pack from 18th on the grid to end up on the podium at the flag as we get going for our 18-minute qualifying session. Very, very exciting stuff. In the virtual commentary box for this evening, or this afternoon, or this morning, wherever you are, it is just myself, Tom. It is a solo action once again. You can see there as we are on board with Telsby, who returns for this qualifying session and the race afterwards as well. We've got Carlitos retiring, and that is because we have a few penalties to talk about after last week. If you remember, Vasquez came to blows with Darth FIFA. Well, that was a 15-second penalty applied post-race for the former driver there, and also you can see their qualifying ban for Carlitos after a collision with Yassir Saki, and a couple of other things. Zane had a 3-second time penalty removed, so jumped from P8 on the line to P7 at the end, and then Sipala, who isn't driving this week, has a 5-second penalty to be applied to their next race after driving unnecessarily slowly under safety car conditions. I think that is all the admin out of the way. We'll go through the driver standings in a moment as well, but we're going to go on board with Talesborough for the first flying lap of the session around a track that has been on and off the calendar in previous years, but has become a bit more of a permanent fixture. Talesborough locks the rears going into turn number 1, named the Nicky Lauda corner, drifting in there and not the optimal line at all. So that will be a few tenths of a second drop there through the kink of turn 2 and up towards the hairpin of turn 3. Track's going to be very difficult, none so in the wet. Going all the way over to the left-hand side of the circuit to get the optimal line and run through the apex. Struggling for traction, but eventually gets it down, and we pull through the gears up towards 8th gear and now down into turn number 4. A corner where we saw some interesting racing in the real-life race, didn't we? Lando Norris and Max Verstappen having some little scraps in turn 3 as well as turn 4, and in the sprint race this was where Verstappen got back ahead of that McLaren driver. Into turn number 6 we go. Try and be as brave as you can, not exceed track limits on the exit for this game, as we get very close to doing on the entry into turn number 7 with Talesborough. There is the white line on the outside, so you can see if you're about to go over the track limits. Up towards Jochen Rink corner now, turn number 9. Once again, you've got to be very brave for both these last 2 corners. The curve on the inside can spit you out into the wall in the left-hand side. It is also very easy to exceed track limits, but Talesborough, pretty decent second half of the lap, barring that little mistake going into turn number 1. It was a fairly decent start to the session. It is a 1:13.6, the benchmark time for the session so far. You'd imagine that'll be beaten by a lot of drivers as we get through it. ET8 Paul in the Pink Panther car, returning to qualifying after that ban last week. We're hoping to challenge it right towards the sharp end of the field. As you can see as well, we are still in the F1 World Cars, which does at least mean we can have a bit of fun referring to all of the cars and the names we're starting to coin for them, as we have done over the last couple of weeks. Casper Flack lowers the benchmark by over a second into the mid 1:12s with the McLaren Esports liveried car. Here is ET8 Paul going through turns 9 and 10 now, getting very close to exceeding track limits through 9. A bit of a slide on the entry into 10. ASRT Christian on the wet compound tyre slots into second. That is third, and now fourth as first Diogo Silva, and then ET8 Paul relegate the black car down into fourth, and Devon also on the wet compound tyres and also in a McLaren Esports livery car, slowest of the times so far. It's nice to see we've got a little bit of a split going on between the Inters and the wets. The Inters certainly looking quick, as first Mario's Formula is the second driver into the 12s, then eclipsed comfortably by Moustache, who lowers the benchmark to a 14.4, tenth and a half clear of Casper Flack. He's even nice, sliding their way around the final corner of turn 10, keeping it within the white lines. Or what is this going to be as we come up to the line? It is second fastest. That's a very competitive time there for a driver that hasn't featured too much of the sharp end in the opening couple of rounds, but that's a very decent benchmark time. Only, what is that, 14 milliseconds off Moustache's pace. We're going to have a look for Jan actually coming up towards turns 9 and 10. Spanias is just up the road. Also, Thomas Covers out there on the wet tyres as well. Spanias jumping up into 4th place. The rain light flashing at the back of the car, a little bit messy there from Jan going through turn number 10. This doesn't look like the most competitive time as we go over the line in one of the alien cars for this week. It's 9th fastest, only a 1 minute 13.6. Information from Dirk. Game says Inters and wets are the same pace. That is very exciting. But I think we have to look at this. The fastest wet driver, currently Nordic Ninja, returning to the pits on a 1:13.5, 1.1 seconds off the pace set by Moustache in the first flying laps. And if we look further down, Thomas Covers has been pretty quick in qualifying, as has Darth FIFA when they haven't been compromised on their final flying laps, 14th and 16th respectively. We'll see what Vazquez can do on their first flying lap of the session, 77 first sector time. That is purple. So this could be pretty competitive for a driver that has changed their livery. We've got a sort of matte black with a bit of lime green going on as first Talesborough and then even Nye lower the benchmark even further. So either the drivers are getting more confident in these conditions, or we are seeing the rain start to subside as Talesborough into the 12.3s and then beaten by even Nye 12.1. I think we'll be in the 11s very, very shortly. A couple of drivers have returned to the pits on the intermediate tyres as well. Casper Flack in ET8, Paul jumping into the box along with Nico, currently sat in 13th place. Vazquez through the second sector split, a little bit of a slide coming up towards turn number 7, going to be pulling gears now up towards 9. It's been a little bit messy the last couple of corners, it has to be said, for Vazquez, who's shown some very promising pace, it has to be said, in the first couple of rounds, but has been held back by a couple of incidents, again getting the rear out going through the final corner there as Diogo Silva jumps up into 10th place. Vazquez over the line, and it's a 12.8. Immediately pushed down into 6th. Actually, it wasn't Diogo Silva, I think it was Nordic Ninja, or it might have been ASRT Christian improving. Diogo Silva jumping up into 4th place there. What can Moustache do? You can see the delta there, 6/10 improvement so far in the first couple of sectors. Marius Formula to 2nd place. Moustache absolutely smashes the benchmark time, and we are not just into the 1 minute 11s, we're comfortably into the 1:11s, 1:11.5, and that is going to be putting a smile on their face and maybe some slightly worried looks on the drivers around. What can Jan do on their second flying lap of this session? We'll see what the delta is coming through the second sector split. Purple to that delta, and is 8/10 up on their personal best, so should certainly be in the 1 minute 12s, but might need to find a little bit more time. Over 2 seconds off the pace currently held by Moustache, as we saw about 30 seconds ago. Very close to exceeding track limits, and again locking the rears a little bit into turn number 10, and now up to the line. What is this going to be for Jan? We're not into the 1 minute 11s with one of the alien cars. It is 3rd, immediately bumped down into 4th. We're going to see a lot of these times flip-flopping as Spanias just goes ahead of Jan there. Who else do we have to look out for? Casper Flack back out on track. I'm not sure if this is a new set of intermediate tyres. They did jump into the pit zone. We are purple to the first sector with the McLaren Esports liveried car. I was going to go through the driver's standings. We don't have the time at the moment. Most people have returned to the pits now, and Casper Flack is one of the earlier runners to get a second flying lap in on what I would presume is a new set of intermediate tyres. You get, I think you get 3 sets of inters for qualifying and the race. If it isn't going to be raining for the race, you might as well use all of those up, and Casper Flack a second up almost through the first couple of sectors. This should be, if we can continue to see improvements into the final sector, this should be the new fastest time of the session. Casper Flack set the benchmark early on. I think they're going to return to the top of the timing charts, barring any major whoopsies through turns 9 and 10. Looked pretty clean there for the McLaren Esports livery car, and up to the line we go with Casper Flack. This should be comfortably 11. Wow, 11.1 car and tyres working nicely there, and you think the track is starting to improve considerably as he takes nearly half a second out of Moustache there. Marius Formula improving a little bit, has stayed out on those tyres. Got an interesting mix of run plans going on. Some people staying out on those intermediates, some people coming back in for a brand new set. And we'll see what Marius Formula can do. While we watch the end of this lap, we'll go through the driver standings very quickly as Vasquez jumps up into third place, 111.7 there. It is Moustache who leads the way after that victory last week in Miami by 5 points ahead of this driver, Marius Formula, who was a little bit subdued, it has to be said. Missed out on pole by 9 milliseconds as Marius Formula, well, did jump up into third, and then Moustache looking very, very confident. 10.7 continues to smash the benchmark with that big wrecking ball and is nearly 4/10 clear once again of Casper Flack this time in second. Jan, who are currently on board with, sat in third, which is pretty amazing considering they're only a reserve. Nico fourth ahead of Casper Flack. ET8 Paul as Nordic Ninja and Darth FIFA both make improvements to jump up into the mid 1 minute 11s. Then it is Zayn, Nordic Ninja, Spanias and Yasir Saki rounding out our top 10 in the standings. Bit of a wobble there for Jan going into turn number 9. Lucky not to exceed track limits on the left-hand side. Much cleaner through turn number 10 and now up to the line. Will this be a big improvement for the Alien car? Definitely is a big improvement. Finds a second, but still half a second down on Moustache, who is really looking incredibly comfortable. And it's looking serene, aren't they? In this... what do we call it? Light rain conditions? I think that's the best way to put it. Comfortably clear of the rest of the pack. And you don't often see in PSGL a big deficit between one driver and the rest of the pack as Thomas Covers now jumps up into second place. Purple through the final sector, 111.0. Who else is down there? Zayn finding 0.3 of a second through the first sector in one of the few Alien cars we've got. I think we've got 3 Alien cars this week. Talesborough continuing to find time on a new set of intermediate tyres, jumps up into the low 1 minute 11s. Even Nye with the fastest time of the session now. 13th in the standings, had a difficult first race, ending up only 18th, but came back nicely to finish 9th last week in Miami and showing some really good improvement there, taking the fight to Moustache, who is now just under 0.2 off the outright pace for even Nye. What is Zayn going to do through the first 2 sectors? Purple in the middle sector. Can't always trust that, it has to be said, but 1.3 seconds up on their personal best. Should be challenging in the low to mid 1 minute 11s. In their first flying lap of this stint. Is there anyone particularly out of position? ASRT, Christian and Devon both started this session on the wet compound tyres, so weren't acclimatised to the intermediates maybe as quick as everybody else does. Zayn up to the line. This does look pretty competitive. Only 7th fastest, but it is a 111.2, but nearly 7/10 behind even Nye, which will be of slight concern for the driver in the Alien car. Darth FIFA we're going to jump on board with as well. Currently sat in 9th place, coming out of turn 4 and through the curve of 5 and up to 6. How brave are they going to be? I don't think we've come up with a name for Darth FIFA's car. Bit of a wobble going through the exit of turn 6, finding 0.4 of a second at the moment as Nordic Ninja now jumps up into second place, 110.6. Will we get into the 109s by the end of the session? Still 6 minutes to go as ASRT Christian gets a more representative time on the board, 10.8 up into 4th now. Darth FIFA losing the race slightly into the final corner, compromised a little bit. You can see no ERS at all. Up to the line we go with Darth FIFA. It is 3rd fastest, jumps just ahead of Moustache on a 110.7 there. ET8 Paul, haven't spoken about the Pink Panther car for a while, but they are on an in-lap. Who else is there to look at? Even Nye, Nordic Ninja, not improving. Even Nye, purple to the first sector though. Current provisional pole sitter looking very comfortable as well in these intermediate conditions. We'll have to wait and see if this carries on for the rest of the session. We've got an Alien car, I think, going up to the line. I think that may have been... Nico potentially starting a flying lap. The driver currently in 6th place at the moment. 6 drivers in the 1 minute 10. You'd expect a lot of drivers to get in there, even though very close to dropping it coming into turn 7. But as Thomas Covers lowers the benchmark, we're into the 10.3s, getting ever closer to the 1 minute 9s. But I think even Nye could just eclipse Thomas Covers. They're pretty close together. Even Nye was finding a couple of tenths, but a little mistake into 7 may have just lost them a tiny bit of time through this final sector. We'll see as the run up to the line. Is it even Nye back on pole? Yes, it is. 1 minute 10.1. We're definitely going to see 109s at the end of this session. If it continues to dry out, which it does look like it is, the rain certainly a little bit lighter than we saw earlier on, we could even be seeing some 1 minute 8s. Nico there 6 seconds down, not on a representative time. Casper Flack is on a representative time. Very nice through turn number 10, pulling gears up to the line. Is this going to be provisional pole? Yes, it is. There's our 1 minute 9 for the McLaren Esports livery car. 1 minute 9.8, and Casper Flack for the 3rd time in the session takes provisional pole as Spanias with a 1 minute 10.4, jumping up into 4th place. Moustache in the pits. Marius Foreman has been bumped all the way down into 14th and not finding a lot of time through the first sector, but does find a lot of time through the middle sector. And you can see there, I've just seen it flash up as a bit of a wobble there over the curve for Marius Foreman through turn number 8. ET8 Paul has the soft tyres selected. We could be in for a bonsai finish as people go for a one-shot qualifying session on the red stripe soft compound tyres, almost invalidating Marius Foreman coming around the final corner. Will this be a provisional pole? No, just under 2/10 off the pace set by Casper Flack. 10.0 Marius Foreman jumps from 14th up to 2nd. Zane has also improved up into 6th on a 110.5 there. ASRT Christian sliding their way through the final corner. Will this be an improvement? Currently sat 10th place, now up to 2nd. Second driver into the 1-minute 9s and 2 milliseconds off the time set by Casper Flack. This could be very close come the end of the qualifying session. Vasquez just started a lap. Same with Matthias, who is purple to the first sector 17.0. Found half a second to their personal best. Nico returning to the pits was half a second up, so maybe thinks that it's going to be slick tyre weather by the end of the session. That would be bold, bailing on a lap that looked pretty competitive. Zane also returning to the pits. Spanias on a cool down lap, as is Marius Foreman and ASRT Christian. Moustache is back out on the circuit on the intermediate tyres, so they've made their call. They don't think it's going to dry up come the end of the session in the Alpine Esports liveried car. Moustache championship leader, currently 10th at the moment, and well, it's not the best first sector, it has to be said. 2/10 down on what we saw from Matthias. That could be due to differing wing levels, and we'll have to see what the baby blue Matthias car does as they're coming around the final couple of corners. Going to stay on board though with the championship leader, ET8 Moustache, who picked up a pretty comfortable win, and they have just invalidated. That is disappointing for the Alpine Esports livery driver and puts them under a bit of pressure come the end of this session. ET8 Paul has selected the intermediate, so we're definitely not going to be going back to 6th. Vasquez jumped up into 3rd. Matthias did find an improvement, but only to 9th place now with a 10.5. Got to be in the 109s to be competitive in this qualifying session with just 2 minutes to go. Spanias nearly half a second up through the first couple of sectors. How committed will they be through turns 9 and 10? Very committed is the answer. Over-committed and fell off the racetrack, and that is an invalidated lap and probably only going to get one more go. The driver currently occupying 7th place in this qualifying session. Nordic Ninja getting out of the way. We do have ghosting on, remember. Moustache did improve, but only by a 10th with that invalidated lap, so we'll go again. Tailspur was featuring towards the sharp end earlier on, has been bumped all the way down to P15 at the moment, and very close to invalidated through the final corner. People getting so close to having their laps taken away, but just by half a 10th jumps up ahead of Casper Flack. Tailspur now your provisional pole sitter on a 109.8. 3 drivers sat with that time at the moment. Every single car out on the circuit. Devin is the only driver without a representative lap time on a 1 minute 14.3, so we'll need to find 4 seconds at least. Who are we going to look for? Mario's Formula is up into 5th place on a 10.0. We need to have a look for ET8 Moustache, who was bailed out again. Interesting stuff. 1 minute to go. People are trying to find a little bit of track space. Jan is down there in 17th on an outlap. ET8 Paul's been in the garage for the majority of the session. This is going to be their final flying lap in the Pink Panther car. And a 17.3, not the most competitive first sector that we have seen. ET8 Paul under pressure, but as we saw last week, knows how to fight their way through the field from our back of the grid start. Current top 3, Tailspur, Casper Flack, ASRT Christian and Vasquez, the only drivers in the 1 minute 9s. Vasquez sat 4th just ahead of Marius Formula. Championship leader Moustache down in 14th and under a little bit of pressure. Look at that, got a ghosted card coming through turn number 1. Could be getting put off, and the championship leader may be getting caught out at the end of this session with the track drying. ET8 Paul is 8.5 tenths up through the first couple of sectors. I think it's going to need a little bit more through the final sector, but could potentially be challenging those high 1 minute 9 times if we see an improvement through turns 9 and 10. The checkered flag is going to be out very shortly. Mario's Formula to the top with a 109.4. That is going to be the benchmark that everybody has to aim for. Can ET8 Paul get close to it? Not really. Half a second down. Jumps up into 5th place. Spanias 3 tenths up. Darth FIFA will finish in 4th on a 109.8. ASRT Christian got over the line. Casper Flack improving a little bit through the first sector. Tailspur, we can't see their first sector split. Moustache, we need to know if they're going to be in trouble. Nico jumps up into 4th. 109.8, still a big gap to Mario's Formula though. Devin under pressure. Jan under pressure as well, coming through the final couple of corners. Improvement, I think, from Matthias there. Jan is off the road, and that is qualifying ruined. Vasquez up into 2nd place there on a 109.6. 109.6. Moustache does get a decent time in. 109.5. Good recovery there from a compromised session. Spanias around the final corner. What can they manage up to the line? Half a second improvement. Jumps up only to 11th. 9.9. ASRT Christian not really improving. Casper Flack we need to keep an eye on as well, coming through the final couple of corners. 3/10 up. This could be the drive to challenge Mario's formula. Is it going to be Casper Flack in the McLaren Esports livery car? Over the line we go. Not quite. Half a tenth down. 109.500. Thomas Covers jumps up to 4th. We wait now for ASRT Christian, who's invalidated. Devin returns to the pits, and that is the end of a very exciting qualifying session. The track drying all the time, but in the end, as we were last week, it is 3 drivers on the front 3 positions. That is wrong because Casper Flack was 4th, but Mario's formula is on pole, returning to pole position, with Moustache ending up 3rd there. Good effort from the championship leader after really struggling to get that flying lap in, and Casper Flack spitting them in the McLaren Esports liveried car. Some really good performances throughout the field, and a couple of drivers that will be a little bit disappointed when we get the full rundown of the grid order in just a couple of moments' time. And there it is. Marius Formula, Casper Flack and Moustache, your top 3. Thomas Covers, brilliant lap to get up into 4th. Even Nye, probably the standout of qualifying, hasn't looked overly competitive, but gets up into 5th. Vasquez, Nico, Telsper, Darth FIFA and ASRT Christian complete the top 10. E8 Paul just missing out along with Spanias. Matthias Zane getting bumped down along with Diogo Silva and Nordic Ninja. Devin didn't have a clean session. Jan didn't get a lap in, and Carlitos suffered a quali ban. Well, that was an extremely exciting session. What we are going to have to do, as we did have ghosting turned off, of course, to try and eliminate the effects of slipstream, we are going to have a quick lobby restart. So we've got a couple of seconds to waffle on about things. You can see that is dry there. We can't necessarily guarantee that the conditions are going to be exactly the same when we get into the actual race. But this race is going to be who can retire from the Grand Prix first. And I'm extremely looking forward to seeing who manages to claim that prize. So, as we wait, a little bit of downtime as we wait for this crossover. Hopefully shouldn't last any longer than 5 minutes. As we get the lobby reloaded, we get the grid set, we can get going for the race. Strategy is going to be an interesting one. 1 stop is usually the way to go, although a 2 stop in some circumstances can work, especially if we see a safety car. We do need to reiterate, though, that the effect of the brand new tyres, don't worry, this isn't the real race start. The effect of the brand new tyres not as strong as it was on F1 23. Moustache is the first out of the session. Thomas Covers may have won that race potentially, though. Says Devin's in 20th at the moment as they charge into turn number 1. That's Vasquez doing a reverse entry drift into Nicky Lauda corner. Excellent way to retire there. Got even Nye Telsborough, who has gone. Casper Flack, I think, is retiring there as well. And we've done that pretty quickly, apart from even Nye, who is clearly planning on trying to get some racing laps. That was a very nice spin through turn number 3, sir. And that is the end of our session. Don't worry, that is, of course, not the real result. And we'll be going very, very shortly. Let's have a recap of last week, though, where we do have our little interlude. Pole position went to Moustache ahead of Mario's formula. Jan, who didn't have a very good qualifying in round number 1. I think they were outside of the top 10, potentially 11th. Qualified 3rd last week, and then once again this week had a bit of a stinker, invalidating on their final flying lap. Ended up slowest of all. Casper Flack was 4th, top 4 covered by just under a 10th. Then we had Zane and Nico, both drivers in the Alien liveried car. Darth FIFA, Vasquez, ASRT Christian and Yasir Saki, who isn't here this week, rounded out our top 10 in qualifying. We did have some incidents, though. Matthias retired early on in the session. Darth FIFA was also caught up in an incident. That was with Vasquez, who, has to be said, was in the wars and did get spun out later on in a battle with, I believe it was Mario's formula. Although it could have been ET8 Paul. I can't quite recall what went on there. Even the apparent winner of our little sprint race there. So Moustache is pretty close for the majority of the race, it has to be said. And then after the safety car, we had a couple of differing strategies. Moustache managed to get through the traffic and then just pull away. Ended up 6.5 seconds clear of Casper Flack, who came home in 2nd. And then it was Paul in 3rd. And ET8 1, 2, 3. Those guys will be very pleased with that. Paul just ending up beating Jan by a 10th of a second, getting past on the final lap. Marius Formula, it was a subdued performance, it has to be said. The race pace, especially in the middle stint on the hard compound tyres, wasn't that impressive. Struggled to get through the traffic and just left himself with too much to do come the end of the session. 5th place only. Then came Nico in 6th ahead of Yasisaki and Zane, but although Zane, who picked up a 3-second penalty for being pushed off the road in the final couple of corners, did get that taken away, so it was Zane in 7th ahead of Yasisaki. Even Nye picked up a couple of points, as did Lakitu in 10th. ASRT Christian was caught up in an incident, ended up finishing 11th just outside the points, ahead of Vazquez, who picked up a 15-second post-race penalty that didn't have any impact on their finishing position, with Nordic Ninja coming home in 13th, the last of the finishers. Diogo Silva was a lap down, and then our retirees, there are a few of them: Devin, Sipala, Carlitos, Darth FIFA, as previously mentioned, along with Matthias. So a fun one in Miami. It was a really good battle. We had some enjoyable racing, some really, really close-fought moments, and some interesting strategies going on as well. And hopefully we see something similar this week in Austria. As I mentioned, the driver's standings, we'll go through those in a little bit more detail. So Moustache has a 5-point lead after a 3rd place in Silverstone and then a win last time out in Miami. Also picked up a pole position, so an extra point there. Fastest lap last week went to ET8 Paul in the Pink Panther car. So Marius Fulmer on 22 points, 5 off the back of Moustache. Then it is Jan with a 2nd and a 4th. Consistent start, currently sat on 20 points. Then it's Nico coming with a 4th and a 6th, 13 points. One ahead of Casper Flack, who recovered from a disconnect in the first race at Silverstone to take a 2nd in Miami. ET8 Paul was 11th, just missed out on points in Silverstone. Came through to get that brilliant podium in Miami. They have 11 points. Then we've got Zane in 7th on 8 points, 2 7th places for one of the alien cars. Nordic Ninja with a 5th and a 13th. One of the reserves currently 8th with 6 points. Then it is Spanias with 5 in 9th, and Yasisaki. Part of a clutch of drivers on 3. Pepin on 3 points. Once again, the reserve not with us this week. Kasabi has 3 points as well. Then it is Even 9 on 2. Vazquez and Lakitu on 1. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 drivers who have taken part that are yet to get off the starting blocks. Technically, there is a Constructors' Championship. It's quite difficult to work out what it is because we are running the F1 World Car, so people obviously not in their respective teams. I will get the Constructors' Championship up just so that people that are interested in that can have a quick browse. And it is level pegging out in front with 2 historic teams, McLaren and Williams, leading the way, both on 27 points. Then it is Mercedes, who are the only team to have both drivers score in both of the first races. They have 21. Then it is Aston Martin, all of their points coming from Casper Flack's 2nd place last week in Miami. They have 12. 1 point ahead of Red Bull, who similarly have all of their points coming from ET8 Paul's 3rd place from Miami last week. Then we've got a bit of a drop off. The V-Carbs with 4 points. Then we've got Haas and Alpine with 3. Ferrari and Sauber yet to get off the mark. And you can see the beautiful message in the top of the screen. The countdown has started, and we'll be getting underway in 20 seconds or so. Very exciting stuff. Quick recap, that's definitely not a word. Recap of the grid for anyone that missed it. Marius Fulmer taking pole by just over half a tenth. Casper Flack, the driver, in 2nd. Moustache Thomas covers Even Nye, completing our top 5. They were covered by just under 2.5 tenths. Vazquez in 6th was 1 millisecond behind Even Nye. Nico in 7th ahead of tails with Darth FIFA and ASRT Christian completing our top 10. They were covered by just over 4.5 tenths, which for a track so short as this, I know we had a little bit of rain involved, but yeah, could have potentially expected the field spread to be a little bit tighter, considering we did have some drivers that didn't get their final flying lap in, and they ended up comfortably over a 2.5 off the pace. The likes of Jan down in 18th, who will be hoping to make up a lot of places. The weather is slightly different there. You can just see it. A little bit of cloud cover. We didn't have that last time around. It was beautiful blue skies with not a cloud in sight over the Styrian Mountains. But that may play a little bit of a part. I don't know if there's any rain. We will all find out together if we have any rain coming in the following 36 laps of this race around what is sometimes described as a bit of a karting track. I think that is fair. You can really battle really hard. We could see some DRS trains, although we did have an update today which wasn't supposed to fix the handling, or wasn't supposed to make any changes to the handling, sorry, but was potentially going to fix some DRS training that people were seeing. So we'll have to wait and see if that is the case, because we did see a little bit of that come the end of the first couple of rounds. Had big groups of cars, Silverstone battling from 1st down to 8th, I think it was, maybe even 9th, and then last week in Miami, the train of cars from 2nd down into 8th, I believe it was. Tension is building as we wait for everyone to select their strategies, select their fuel loads, and get themselves prepared for round number 3 of this season. Marius Formula returning to pole position. He's got a fight on his hands with 2 very quick drivers behind and a whole host of quick drivers following them as well. And we're getting ready. 5 red lights will be appearing ahead of the drivers for the 3rd time in season number 37 on F1 24. It is lights out and away we go. Even Stevens start from the front too. Actually, Casper Flack in the second phase. Terrible launch. There's actually Moustache and Thomas Covers potentially going around the outside of the McLaren Esports liveried car. Terrible getaway for Casper Flack. Just losing a little bit of traction as Nico has dropped it coming through turn number 1 and has dropped down to the back of the pack. Thomas Covers and Casper Flack continuing to debate 3rd and 4th. Vasquez and Even Knight, big lock up. I think that was from Moustache in second place, catching out a couple of drivers. ET8 Paul moving up a couple of places from 11th on the grid in the Pink Panther car. Some squabbling further back. Spanias dropping a couple of places, as is Zane. Jan still down in 18th, and Nico has been dropped off the back of the pack after that spin into turn number 1. Marius Formula though still leading the way ahead of Moustache. Then comes Thomas Covers and Casper Flack, even 9, completing our top 5. So let's very quickly get the tyres on. Well, we don't really need that. Every single driver on the yellow striped medium tyres. So that is good to bear in mind for all of us. Moustache though, ideal start, got past Casper Flack, who got a decent launch, but then in the second phase of the start just really seemed to bog down and got mugged not only by Moustache but by Thomas Covers as well. But it's still Marius Formula who's going to lead the way. Zane is jumping into the pit, so that might be due to contact with a fellow alien car in Nico, and a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pits as well. A terrible start for one of the alien cars. It DRS enabled on the start of lap number 2, new for this game and this season, and that is Moustache, who's going to make a very easy move up the inside of Marius Formula to take the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. Marius Formula boxed in a little bit and under pressure from Thomas Covers behind, but just able to hold on to that. Casper Flack all over the back of Thomas Covers as well. We could potentially be 4 wide on the run down into turn number 4. We're certainly 3 wide. Casper Flack has backed out of it. Into the braking zone we go, and it's Marius Formula that's come off worse, almost pushed off into the grass. Moustache manages to hold on to the lead of the race. Casper Flack, the beneficiary of that, jumping up into second. Marius Formula is struggling to hold on to position. Now even Nye trying to swing it around the outside. Going to run out of room there, so and will have to stay in 5th place for the time being, ahead of Vasquez and Tailsborough. But Thomas Covers all over the place, going through 7 and 8, dropped a little bit of time to Casper Flack and Moustache in front. That got a little bit messy. We were 3 wide, and in the end it was Marius Formula that was the big loser, squeezed out and dropping down from 2nd into 4th. Casper Flack playing the long game, sat behind the 3 drivers that were debating 1st, 2nd and 3rd, and managed to pick up a couple of spots on the exit of 4 and through the curve of 5. Lap number 3, ET8 Paul with the fastest lap of the race, currently down in 10th. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of flip-flopping of positions with the DRS, with these 2 back-to-back DRS straights, and that is Casper Flack taking the lead of the race up the hill and into turn number 3. Lock up on the inside front, but that won't matter too much as Marius Formula has a look up the inside of Thomas Covers. We've got some position swapping further back as ET8 Paul and ASRT Christian debate 9th and 10th. Not a great run out of the hairpin for Marius Formula, and could be susceptible to a move up the inside from even 9, but later on the brakes we've got a red car challenging. I think that's Tailsborough and Darth FIFA squabbling over 7th and 8th. Darth FIFA trying to get a bit of that car alongside, unable to, and will stay behind. ASRT Christian and ET8 Paul battling very hard. Christian almost into the back of Darth FIFA there, but it's ET8 Paul who hangs it around the outside beautifully to get up into 9th place. Has been a good start from the Pink Panther car, from 11th on the grid up into 9th now. ASRT Christian dropping down a place. Since everybody is on the same compound of tyres, we can have a look at the big winners and losers. Nico and Zane, the big losers, of course, down 11 and 5 respectively, and Marius Formula, the pole sitter, dropping from 1st down into 4th and under some pressure from even Knight and Vasquez to boot as well. 1 position gain for each of Casper Flack, Moustache and Thomas Covers. 4 for Devon, who started down in 17th up to 13th, and Carlitos with moves as well. But Casper Flack is going to lose the lead of the race here potentially. No DRS open for Moustache there. Thomas Covers is now sneaking up the inside of Moustache. Marius Formula trying to get involved around the outside as well, and manages to keep a little bit of that Cosmos purpley pink car alongside to get a little bit of racing room, and will try and challenge once again down. Look at the cars side by side all the way through the field. Even Nye having to defend from Vasquez, who trying to swing it around the outside in the matte black and green car, but I don't think they're quite going to have the exit speed to get up into 5th place there. Matthias has lost a couple of places, as has ASRT Christian in that skirmish we saw just behind this group of the leaders. Everybody's still in DRS range apart from the group at the back, or the pair at the back, sorry, of Nico and Zane, who's dropped a long way back, been into the pits a couple of times, Zane, after that 10-second penalty. All going wide there is Marius Formula. Made a big mistake coming into turn number 9. Is currently ghosted. Even Nye is just going to drive straight through Marius Formula, and the pole sitter loses another place there due to a mistake. And that is a big moment in the race. Marius Formula tumbling through the field. Started lap 5, gone from 1st down to position number 5. And look at that. Tailspur was trying to find an opening up the inside of Vasquez to potentially challenge Marius Formula on the right to turn number 3. And they're going to be 3 wide in front. Vasquez is going to be on the inside. Marius Formula challenging again with Even Nye. Both of them nearly run off the circuit as Tailspur swings it around the outside of Vasquez to get 6th place. And he's not satisfied with that. He's potentially thinking about 5th place as Tailspur, but doesn't quite have the straight line speed to challenge Even Nye down into turn number 4. And it's actually Vasquez under pressure once again from Darth FIFA, who tries it around the outside for the 2nd lap in a row, but again it's going to come up short unless they can keep that bright red car alongside to earn a bit of racing room up the inside into turn number 6, and kept his nose in there, but in the end wasn't able to send it up the inside. Now he's got to be careful of the Pink Panther car of ET8 Paul, who sat right in the rear diffuser of Darth FIFA. Continuing on, Casper Flack almost pushing Moustache through turn 9 of Rink. Thomas Covers still right in there as well. Marius Formula managing to reclaim 4th place, but a little bit wide through the final corner, and Even Nye has looked very, very racy as this big train of cars from 1st down into 17th swings through turn number 1 of Nicky Lauda corner to start lap number 6. And I think that was Marius Formula. No, it is Even Nye still just pushing Marius Formula through turn number 1, as this time I think Casper Flack is going to take the lead of the race, and Moustache might lose another couple of spots. Through goes Thomas Covers, although Moustache is going to try and challenge it. More racing behind. I saw ET8 Paul up the inside of a couple of cars, but Marius Formula, Even Nye, Tailspur continuing the status quo as it was. ET8 Paul side by side with Darth FIFA, who's been on the offensive in the previous couple of laps, but now has to relinquish 8th place, which they'll be disappointed about. Thomas Covers and Moustache continuing to squabble down into turn number 4, and I think it's Thomas Covers who is going to come out on top in the default livery car that has been painted black. He is up into 2nd place, and Moustache drops down into 3rd, ahead now of Mario's Formula. Tailspur up the inside of Even Nye. We just caught that on the onboard camera from the nose camera. I think Even Nye is just going to hold on to that position. Be careful of Vasquez, who's right in there as well. That was brave from Tailspur. Almost ended in disaster because there was a little bit of wheel banging, but in the end they managed to retain the status quo and stay in 5th and 6th for the time being. ET8 Paul looks to be on the chart as well, very close to the back of Vasquez in the Pink Panther car. Lap 7 now. It's almost like a speedway race. This into the back of Even Nye goes Tailspur into turn number 1. They're both kicked to the back of this train. They will not be pleased with that. Tailspur a little bit too late on the brakes. Even Nye, an innocent bystander, and that drops down to the back of this queue of cars, and they will both be very disappointed. That is a couple of free spots for the likes of Vasquez, ET8 Paul and Darth FIFA, who will be very pleased to see that contact going on in front of them. Further forward, we're still in the order we were before turn number 3, but now Thomas Covers sends it up the inside of Casper Flack in the McLaren Esports livery car. Going to try and hang it all the way around the outside. We've got a yellow flag waving in the middle sector. Not quite sure what it's for, but Thomas Covers does manage to assert their dominance over Casper Flack to take the lead of this race for the very first time. I mean, can barely keep up. Oh, that was Thomas Covers way too wide into turn number 7. Had a bit of a wobble, pushed it very hard, but it's actually Casper Flack who's under pressure from Moustache and Marius Formula on the run down into Jochen Rink corner. It is still 3rd and 4th for Moustache and Marius Formula, the 2 purple cars there. One of them, the Alpine Esports liveried car. It's going to be McLaren Esports versus Alpine Esports in a minute, you would imagine, in the battle for 2nd and 3rd place. Tailspur and Even Nye. Got a feel for Even Nye. Was looking very, very comfortable. Probably their best performance of the season, but just caught out by a little mistake from Tailspur going into the back of them into turn number 1, and both of them coming a cropper. Not up the inside for Casper Flack. Up the inside is Marius Formula, though, trying to get 3rd place back from Moustache. Vasquez and ET8 Paul squabbling over 5th and 6th. As Spanias and Devin, who is making brilliant progress, it has to be said, from 17th on the grid. Now up in 9th in the other McLaren Esports livery car. Look at this big cluster of cars in the battle for the lead. Moustache trying to go all the way around the outside of Casper Flack. back. And you know what? They've done it absolutely perfectly. Textbook move for the Alpine Esports liveried car to get past the McLaren Esports liveried car. Casper Flack drops back down into third place, has now got to contend with Marius Formula, the pole sitter, who's trying to recover from that poor opening couple of laps. And Vasquez will be chomping at the bit to try and get involved in this as well. Also, ET8 Paul in the Pink Panther car somehow up in sixth. They managed to make places so quickly to ET8 Paul. And they're going to be in a really good position. That's the first corner cutting penalty of the race. It goes to Matthias, currently running in 10th, 3-second penalty after 8 laps. And if we look further forward, Zane's pretty close to getting lapped at this point, which is going to be a bit concerning for one of the alien cars. Who's going to lose places again? Marius Formula was slow out of turn number 1. Could be under pressure from Vasquez as Thomas Covers relinquishes the lead to Moustache. Thomas Covers is now going to drop down into third as Casper Flack is up the inside as well. Marius Formula struggling to hold on to fourth. ET8 Paul's going to try and make it 3 wide on the exit of turn number 3. Marius Formula is clear. Vasquez certainly not. And ET8 Paul up the inside into turn number 4. Got to contend with Vasquez, swinging it around the outside. Just about both of them have a little bit of wobble, but stay in the positions they were. Darth FIFA ahead of Devin, who's managed to get ahead of Spanias. What a run this is from Devin, by the way. Nearly made up 10 places in the opening 10 laps. ERS light flashing, gets up ahead of Spanias. ASRT Christian rounding out our top 10. I've gone for the wrong cup. Bad timing there. Marius Formula still with Vasquez all over the back of them. ET8 Paul, Darth FIFA. Devin now will be looking to try and potentially get up towards the podium place in the next few laps. They'll also be thinking about pit stops anytime soon as we come up to lap number 10. We're not too far away from that first pit stop window. Moustache leading Casper Flack and Thomas Covers after 9 of 36 laps. A quarter distance covered so far. Who's going to make a move this time? So much action to keep an eye on. Casper Flack takes the lead back. Thomas Covers is going to try and come through as well. Marius Formula in there also. Was there a little bit of contact? There certainly was at the apex of turn number 3. Marius Formula somehow staying in fourth and somehow staying on the road as well. Moustache holding on to second place, maybe going to try and challenge Casper Flack on the run down the hill into turn number 4. Lock up for Marius Formula as well as Moustache as they try not to run into the back of the contenders in front of them. A little bit wide from Thomas Covers, who's going to be under pressure from Marius Formula on the run down into turn number 6. Can they swing it around the outside? The pole sitter trying to recover, going to run out of room, gravel right to the right hand side of them and into the back of Thomas Covers. Hopefully, Darius Pitter there just looked like a little bit of a love tap, and Marius Formula unsuccessful in that attempt to try and wrestle third place away from Thomas Covers. Is that Darth FIFA up the inside into Jochen Rindt corner? That would have been brave. Darth FIFA into the pit, so doing the correct thing actually and using the pit entry. Here's Marius Formula still on the back of Thomas Covers. He failed at his first attempt to try and get through. He failed at his second attempt to try and get through. Will it be third time a charm? But again, a bit too wide into turn number 1. A mistake from the pole sitter again. Vasquez caught up by that. And it's ET8 Paul says, thank you very much. No invitation needed in the Pink Panther car to move up into 5th place. But Vasquez not going to live this one fighting down. And it's going to switch to the outside line, doing what Lando Norris tried to do to Max Verstappen in the main race a few weeks ago, but unsuccessful in trying to send it around the outside, be later on the brakes to get that place back. ET8 Paul up into 5th now from 11th on the grid. What tyres did Darth FIFA and Carlitos and Tails were put on? They've all put on the hard compound tyres, so watch out for them. They are going to be going to the end unless we see a safety car, of course, which with how close everybody is together at the moment is very, very possible. You can see the positions gained there. Won't go through it because there is a lot to go through, but we will jump back to the main screen there. Is that Casper Flack diving into the pits? I think it is going to be the McLaren Esports livery car into the box. Vasquez is going to jump in as well. Thomas Covers a little bit balked by that. He's going to be under pressure from Marius Formula and ET8 Paul for what feels like the 5th lap running. So who's coming to the pits? Casper Flack, Vasquez, Spanias, Diogo Silva and Nordic Ninja all deciding now's the time to get off those mediums and put a set of what I would imagine is a white stripe hard compound tyres. Marius Formula again slow through turn 1. It's going to be under pressure from ET8 Paul on the run up the hill into turn number 3, but the Pink Panther car doesn't think about an audacious lunge up the inside, trying to find a space around the outside, maybe trying to execute the switchback, but not quite close enough to make that move stick. Have got a little bit of dispersion going on as well. Even Nyes dropped out of 1 second behind the cars in front. Recovered nicely from that instant we saw early on. It's got Jan in one of the alien cars all over the back of them. Needs to try and get inside the DRS range of Matthias, or they're just going to keep falling away and leaking time to that group in front. And I would imagine that all of these guys are going to be coming into the pits at the end of the lap. Everybody that's come in half the field, they've put on the white striped hard compound tyres. Who's going to be brave and stay out and try an alternate strategy? Who is going to come in and put that new set of tyres on? They're all moving over to the right hand side, indicating they're going to be jumping into the pit lane. It is Moustache that leads, Thomas Covers that leads, Marius Formula. Devin the only driver staying out, I think that was in the McLaren Esports liveried car. In we go, locking up her brakes as everybody tries to slow down and not make contact as well. Devin, the Lone Ranger, staying out, along with Nico actually, who is staying out as well after that spin on the opening lap. And now we wait for Casper Flack, who is the net race leader and has absolutely bolted on this outlap. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the fastest lap. It is not quite. As we come through turn number 1 now with Casper Flack, is Talesborough, who sets the fastest lap, 106.1. Look at the gap that Casper Flack has got now over Moustache and Thomas Covers. That has worked out beautifully, the undercut. Got a 2-second margin now in the McLaren Esports liveried car, and Moustache could be under a little bit of pressure from Darth FIFA as those hard tyres come up to temperature on the Alpine Esports liveried car there. Oh, but a spin, Darth FIFA under pressure, locked the rears coming into turn number 3, was thinking too much about the car in front, made a mistake, is now going to drop behind 2 other drivers, Thomas Covers and Marius Tormund, who have just come out of the pits, swing past Darth FIFA and get up into 5th and 6th respectively. That could be a crucial mistake from Darth FIFA, who was running a net 3rd place in this race. Thomas Covers is wide into turn number 4, but Marius Tormund not close enough to capitalise on that little mistake there. And crucially as well, Thomas Covers has dropped out of the DRS window of Moustache in front. Devin into the pits. Nico will probably do the same, and that'll be everyone onto the hard tyres to the end of the race, barring a late race safety car. No, Nico staying out, going long. I wonder what the plan there will be. Thomas Covers, that's a crucial 3-second penalty to pick up, and that could be, well, that could be hugely detrimental for their potential chances of finishing on the podium. Still got this big train, everyone in DRS range of each other, from Thomas Covers down to Vazquez and ET8 Paul, who, I mean, I wasn't sure what went on there. They must have had a really slow stop, potentially get held up in the pits, but they've dropped all the way down to 18th and 17th as Marius Tormund's up the inside of Thomas Covers into turn number 3. That was a very clean move and gets up into 4th place and can now try and charge after Moustache, but I don't think Thomas Covers is going to be too pleased at losing that position. What can Darth FIFA do? What can Talesborough do, who came in on the same lap as Darth FIFA? I'll tell you what he can do. Almost run into the back of Darth FIFA into turn number 4. Thomas Covers still sat right underneath the rear wing of Marius Tormund, who is trying their hardest to close up to the back of Moustache and get them into DRS range. Casper Flack still with 1.7 seconds over Moustache, despite having 1 lap older tyres. We'll have to wait and see how that gap fluctuates, as Devin is the 3rd driver to get a corner cutting penalty. 3 seconds added to their race time. Was running 7th before the pit stops, now down in 14th, so the undercut, as we can see, has been extremely powerful for a lot of drivers. Darth FIFA, Talesborough, ASRT Christian, Diogo Silva and Nordic Ninja, the main beneficiaries. Even Nye, Jan, Devin and Spanias and Vazquez and ET8 Paul, all those drivers at the back, the big losers from that pit stop phase. Darth FIFA close to the back of Thomas Covers. Marius Tormund could get swallowed up here on the run up the hill into turn number 3. Going to lose a couple of places, certainly one to Thomas Covers. Little bit of contact, I think, there as Darth FIFA tried to force that bright red car alongside and barge his way through to get up into 5th place. I think they're just about going to do it. Marius Tormund gives up the fight and does lose a couple of places there into turn number 4, and almost returns the favour into turn number 4, running into the back of that bright red car, very close to making contact there. Talesborough is going to be next on the list to try and get past the ailing pole sitter, who, as we saw in Miami, just getting a bit bogged down in traffic, and the race pace not quite as strong as the qualifying pace. ASRT Christian still very close to the back of this trio. Also Darth FIFA trying to stick to Thomas Covers as well after they lost a little bit of time battling through turns 3 and 4. Who's going to be the next to pick up a corner cutting penalty? Thomas Covers still 1.2 seconds behind Moustache, who is still 1.7 seconds behind Casper Flack. They're catching Nico, who continues to stay out. Talesborough up the inside of Marius Tormund, and now turn 1 has been a weakness and now forced off the road. Little bit of contact, rear wheel to front wing, and Marius Tormund concedes another place as ASRT Christian says thank you very much, no invitation needed there to the dinner party, up into 7th place. The pole sitter continuing to lose places as Diogo Silva sending it up the inside of Nordic Ninja. That could have been a big crash. Luckily enough, there was some ghosting as Matthias and Carlitos debate 11th and 12th. There's even Nye trying to get involved also. Devin sat just behind them as well as a very nice spectator, and it's the baby blue car under pressure from Carlitos around the outside, who is no longer in the Ronald McDonald car this week, unfortunately enough. They're going to try and swing it around the outside. This would be a beautiful overtake if they can get up into 11th place here. You think that Matthias has to concede around the outside, going to keep the foot in there in the baby blue car, but eventually runs out of road. Don't want to end up in the gravel and does drop down into 12th place, and now will potentially be at the mercy of even Nye trying to recover from that earlier incident between themselves. And I think it was Talesborough, wasn't it? Yes, Talesborough, who dropped all the way down. We haven't even mentioned this. Dropped down to 17th after running into the back of even Nye. Now back up into 6th. I think that's where they were before that incident took place. Casper Flack, interestingly enough, has managed to pull away from Moustache, who must have made a mistake on the previous lap because Thomas Covers is inside that 1 second window, that crucial 1 second window here in Austria as we're coming up towards half distance in this race. 17 of 36 laps we're on. Look at the trainer cars. ET8 Paul is the big loser who was running 6th, I think, before the pit stop window, now all the way back down in 18th. We'll have to do the recovery drive all over again as Carlitos, Even Nye and Devin Matthias is dropping places like a stone, actually now behind Jan as well. Was 12th at the start of this straight, now down in 15th. Big lockups from Jan and Devin in front. Is the alien car going to give space to the baby blue car? Just about. ET8 Paul gets ahead of Vasquez, who was trying to scrap with Spanias, but obviously coming off second best, sending it up the inside in what is technically a battle for the wooden spoon. ET8 Paul just giving enough room on the right hand side to stay on the road, but he's going to try his hardest to swing it around the outside. That is going to be a corner cutting infringement going over the white line there, and will not quite be able to get up into 17th. Casper Flack is going to take the lead of this race as Nico finally jumps into the pits, and Vasquez is the 4th driver to pick up a corner cutting penalty. Here we go again then for the 18th lap in a row. 2.1 seconds the lead. Moustache has been reeled in at a rate of knots. Talesborough also moving alongside Darth FIFA. We're going to have a couple of moves here. Thomas Covers up into 2nd place. Darth FIFA drops down to 5th. They're going to try and scrap it out up the hill into turn number 3 there, the hairpin. Darth FIFA not willing to lose that position to Talesborough, and they're going to continue this squabble down the hill into turn number 4. Marius Formula still down in only 7th at the moment. Who's going to be last of the late breakers? Lockups for everyone, deploying that smoke screen, and there's contact there. Darth FIFA almost spinning off into the wall on the left hand side. Marius Formula, no, that's ASRT Christian trying to get involved. Brilliant move, but it doesn't quite stick. Contact with Darth FIFA again. I think that's Darth FIFA off, and yes, Darth FIFA is off into the pickets on the left hand side. I will tumble all the way down to the back of the pack, you would expect. Hugely disappointing for Darth FIFA, and once again they come a cropper in battle in this season. So that is the driver, that is the first big name in this big train of cars that has been caught out by wheel-to-wheel action. It was ASRT Christian trying to send it up the inside, maybe spooked Darth FIFA, who ran a little bit wide, and then there was contact. There is Moustache getting 2nd place, back from Thomas Covers. But still the gap 2 seconds to Casper Flack in front. Mistake though from Moustache there. Locked up, went way too deep into turn number 3, but does get a good exit and will stay in 2nd place, you would imagine. Squabbling going on behind as ET8 Paul trying to recover places alongside Matthias. Baby Blue Car versus the Pink Panther, who's going to come out in this titanic scrap for 14th on the run down the hill into turn number 4. Is there going to be enough room left on the inside for the Pink Panther car? Yes. A little bit of wheel banging on the exit as they go through the curve of turn 5, but I think Matthias, as we've seen on the inside of turn number 6, should have this covered off. They continue their scrap from a couple of laps ago, but look at that. ET8 Paul going clean around the outside of Matthias, and I think that was a little bit of ego at play there. Didn't like how he couldn't get the move done a couple of laps ago. Says thank you very much. I will just absolutely embarrass you around the outside there. That was brilliant stuff from ET8 Paul. Matthias in the baby blue car relegated down into 15th. Was running 11th a couple of laps ago. Has just dropped a couple of places. ET8 Paul makes a mistake, and all of the hard work, we praised him as Darth FIFA into the pits, 10-second penalty, and will retire. Huge shame for Darth FIFA. That's the 3rd race in a row. This scrap continues to get interesting. Matthias losing the rear, and we're going to be 3 wide. 3 drivers that were in the top 10 before the first round of spots. It's Vasquez up into 14th. ET8 Paul and Matthias are going to continue their grudge match, but I think the Pink Panther car will hold off the baby blue car and stay in 15th after that mistake into the final corner. It could have been relinquished, and well, ET8 Paul not satisfied with that. Wants 14th place back. Is going to have to do the hard work and go the long way around on Vasquez, who's going to be last of the late breakers. Any lockups? Bit of a rear lockup there for Vasquez. Couldn't quite see it through all the smoke, but drifting their way down the hill into turn number 4, and ET8 Paul can swing around the outside and reclaim 14th place. That's the best battle I've ever seen for 14th, 15th and 16th, I have to say. Drink number 1 of the session. This is surprising we've taken so long. Oh, that's some refreshing water there. Returning to the action, the gap out in front has come down a little bit. Well, a lot of it actually. It was over 2 seconds. Now down at 1.3 and a lockup for Casper Flack into turn number 1. Maybe some signs of struggling to deal with the pressure as this big queue of cars chases after the McLaren Esports livery driver. Moustache sitting 3rd ahead of Talesborough and ASRT Christian, who was shown to be very racy in this Grand Prix thus far. Then it's Marius Swarm ahead of Nordic Ninja. Diogo Silva, even Knight, who's managed to recover from the contact with Talesborough early on, and Carlitos rounding out our top 10. Devin on 3-lap younger tyres than Carlitos, trying to put them to good use in the second McLaren Esports livery car. Was running 7th at one point after starting 17th, got caught out in the pit stop window, staying out too long and lost all of those track positions that have been made up. Same has to go for Jan and ET8 Paul, and Matthias actually also. Nico on those new hard compound tyres has got a lot of work to do to catch back up. ET8 Paul and Vasquez and Matthias have battled so hard they've dropped 2 seconds to the group in front, and that could be their race over. As look at the gap out in front. Thomas Covers flying, Casper Flack really struggling to pull a gap out in front. All of the ERS, no, they're recharging the ERS through the final couple of corners, and I think Thomas Covers is going to get DRS for the first time in this stint. Casper Flack has been reeled in by the chasing pack, and that is going to make a very interesting battle for the lead in the final 15 laps of this race. Ooh, take your pick. There are a lot of drivers in with a chance of winning this. Thomas Covers not close enough quite to get the slipstream effect from Casper Flack in front, which is why Moustache is sending it up the inside. A little bit brave on the brakes, contact to boot as well, as they both nearly fall off the circuit. Moustache relinquishes the place after running into the side pod of Thomas Covers. Further back though, it's the battle for 4th and 5th as Talesborough struggles to hold on to it, with ASRT Christian trying to all they can to get ahead of Talesborough, both running the same livery, almost pushed into the gravel on the exit of turn number 4 and can't quite get alongside through the curve of 5 and up to turn 6, and it's actually Talesborough who got such a good launch out of the corner. Their winners try and challenge Moustache as well, still trying to put a nose in there at the inside, can't quite do it. ASRT Christian and Marius Swarm continue to sit behind them for now as Nico picks up a corner cutting penalty. And we've got a yellow flag. I think that is Zane, or no, Nico, who has spun coming out of turn number 4. Hopefully that's not a safety car. That would throw a lot of spanners in the works for a lot of our drivers on these hard tyres at the moment, because they'd have to file into the pits, and some of them would get held up by their teammates, and they don't know who their teammates are, of course. Marius Swarm again struggling into turn number 1, little bit of a lock-up, and it compromises them massively. Is Casper Flack going to lose the lead of the race here for the first time in 10 laps or so? Thomas Covers not quite close enough. ET8 Paul gets back ahead of Vasquez. That battle, they continue to lose time. Marius Swarm and ASRT Christian though, side by side. Cosmos pink and purple versus the Cosmos and black car, and ASRT Christian for the time being stays ahead of Marius Swarm with the pole sitter, who doesn't think about a move up the inside under brakes into turn number 4 and will stay in 6th. That attack successfully repelled by ASRT Christian, who was unfortunate to lose points last time out in Miami. They were certainly in with a chance of maybe even finishing on the podium, but got caught out in battle and fell through the field. Ended up 11th, I think, at the flag. We can check that actually. Yes, did end up 11th place over the line. What else have we got then? With 13 laps to go, Casper Flack, for the first time in 10 laps, is now under pressure from the chasing pack. I think this could be the first time we see the lead officially change hands, because Thomas Covers is much closer than they were on the previous lap. A little bit wide from Moustache just behind them into turn number 1 as Jan picks up a penalty, but down in 11th, not going to rob them of points at this stage. Casper Flack, do they go defensive? Little bit of a move over to the middle of the circuit, and it's actually behind them where Moustache and Talesborough continue their scrap, and the Alpine Esports livery car trying to go around the outside of Talesborough to get up into 3rd place. This battle for the podium will rage on down the hill into turn number 4. Casper Flack does lose the lead of the race. Around the outside goes Thomas Covers. Talesborough and Moustache around the outside as well goes the Alpine Esports liveried car, but it's Talesborough who holds on. SRT Christian sat just behind with Marius Swarm waiting in the wings. Also, I mean, struggling to speak. We've got so much action to try and cover with 12 laps to go at the end of this one. Nordic Ninja, Even Knight, Diogo Silva, can they make any progress through the field at the moment? Carlitos, currently the last point scoring driver in 10th. Jan with a penalty. Spanias will be trying to gain a couple of places to get inside the top 10. Devin and Vasquez, ET8 Paul, Matthias and Nico, and obviously Zane as well, probably out of the reckoning for a top 10 finish. We return to the leaders. And it's Casper Flack, who will be desperate to get the lead of the race back, but I think may have to go on the defensive before they can go on the offensive, because Talesborough's very close behind. Moving over to the middle of the track, lockups again. Was there a bit of contact? I don't think there was. It looked like Talesborough almost went into the back of the McLaren Esports liveried car there, and Moustache in the Alpine Esports liveried car now going to be all over the back of Talesborough running down the hill, but Thomas Covers manages to hold on to the lead of the race. It's going to be difficult for Thomas Covers to win this with that 3-second penalty looming over their head. They need a mistake from Casper Flack behind so they can drop out of DRS and then try and bolt, claim those 3 seconds back, and win the race, although that is going to be a very, very tall order. Who else are we looking at? Let's since everyone's on the same tyres, those are your penalties. Only 3-second penalties for everyone. Big movers in this race. Talesborough up 5 along with SRT Christian. Thomas Covers up 3. Nordic Ninja up 8. Carlitos up 9, Diogo Silva up 6, and Jan up 7. The big leaders, Vazquez and Nico, both down 10. Marius Storman from pole position down 5 as well. As we enter lap 26, and through turn 1 we go. Moustache and Marius Storman are the drivers we've got to keep an eye on, because they're the favourites for this championship. You would imagine Moustache may be shaping for a move around the outside of Talesborough, but can't quite find the space to pull the move off. Marius Storman looking a little bit passive, just sat behind them at the moment, trying to save some ERS, you would imagine, to try and go for a last couple of laps assault on the lead of the race. Speaking of the lead of the race, a little bit of a look up the inside for Casper Flack. Both the top two lock up on the run down into turn number 4, and suddenly Casper Flack is maybe a little bit vulnerable in the exit through the curve of 5, but Talesborough not close enough to make a move up the inside into turn number 6, which isn't really a heavy braking zone. Oh, bit of lag there. I think was that Marius Storman, or it might have been ASRT Christian who glitched a little bit wide there. Thankfully staying on the racing line and staying in 5th place. Nordic Ninja has lost out to Even Nye, whose pace has been so strong. If they didn't get caught up in that instant on the first lap, get hit by Talesborough, ironically currently holding 3rd place. Look at how close everybody is as we cut the beam to start lap number 27. The top 7 all split by intervals of pretty much a tenth or 2/10. That is how close this is, and we are going to have a barnstorming finish in the Red Bull Ring here, folks. This is going to be hugely exciting. Thomas Covers is going to go defensive and wants to hold on to the lead of this race, but might be helpless as Casper Flack sending it around the outside. Later on the brakes is Thomas Covers, and it's actually Casper Flack, but Thomas Covers has ghosted there, so maybe a bit of a wobble on the exit, and it's going to lose 1, 2 and maybe 3 places on the run down the hill. Look at this, everyone's almost inside each other because they're ghosting so much. We know Casper Flack's in the lead. We're 3 wide behind with Moustache sticking a nose in there at the inside. Is there contact? There is a little bit of a wobble for Thomas Covers on the exit of turn number 4, but it is Talesborough now up into 2nd. Moustache holds 3rd. SRT Christian having a look up the inside of Thomas Covers, who's gone from 1st down into 4th. Marius Storman is trying to get involved, also along with Even Nye, but they're not close enough to make a move under brakes for the time being. So Thomas Covers is slow off turn number 8 and could be under pressure up into Jochen Rindt corner, but SRT Christian not close enough to make a move. It's not really an overtaking spot, it has to be said. I mean, nobody has any idea who's going to pick up the win here. It's going to be like a raffle or a coin toss to decide the winner of this race. A little bit of lag again there as we go through turn number 1, and Talesborough is going to try and potentially take the lead of this race. Casper Flack was just over 3/10 clear. I don't think we're going to see a potentially stupid lunge up the inside for Talesborough, as Even Nye now relegates Marius Storman down a position, although going to contest it on the exit of turn number 3, and down the hill we go. Could this be the pole sitter losing yet another position? Almost banging wheels down the straight, trying to squeeze Marius Storman over to the inside, and now he's going to send out the inside of ASRT Christian as well. Even Nye, that was almost very ballsy and outrageous driving from the car currently sat in 6th place. Does get ahead of Marius Storman in the pole sitter, dropping yet another position in what has been, for the 2nd week running, a little bit of a disappointing race for the driver that started on pole. That won the opening race, of course, as well. Marius Storman getting the move up the inside into Stowe corner on the final lap to take the victory. The race pace hasn't been as good in the following couple of rounds. Jan all over the back of Carlitos in the battle for 10th and 11th, although that 3-second penalty will probably mean that Jan doesn't score any points for the first time this season. Lap 29 now. Moustache very close to the back of Talesborough. Marius Storman, I think, in the back of shot was wide again through turn number 1, and this is the move for the lead. Talesborough is going to take the lead of the race for the first time. Casper Flack relinquishes it. The McLaren Esports livery car down into 2nd. Thomas Covers and ASRT Christian dueling over 4th and 5th. Thomas Covers stays in 4th. ASRT Christian couldn't make that attack work and had to be careful because even Nye was chomping at the bit to maybe get involved and steal a position from under their noses. As we have Thomas Covers and the ASRT Christians still swapping places with a little bit of lag going on. Jan losing a couple of places. We've got a yellow flag. I think that's Jan who was spun on the exit of turn number 4. Yes, it is. The Alien car is currently last, 2nd last and 3rd last. It has not been a good week if your car is painted in blue. That's definitely not blue. Maybe colourblind. Green and Cosmos purple. These guys have not had a good week. Definitely not one to remember. One to forget the Red Bull Ring this season. As we finish this lap and start the next, we are into the 30s. Who is going to take this win? Hugely exciting. I mean, I'm expecting a huge battle on the last lap as people fight tooth and nail to get this race win. The championship's so important. The pole sitters fall through the field. There's an opportunity for someone to take a very impressive victory. Up the inside with Casper Flack, up the inside with Thomas Covers as well, and drivers that were in first and third under pressure from the two behind them. They do, however, hold on to the position, and Casper Flack is under a little bit of pressure as he tries to take the lead of the race. Moustache was potentially shaping a move up the inside of the McLaren Esports livery car. It's actually Talesborough who's now under pressure, loses the lead, could be losing second place as well, as Moustache has had a great exit off turn number 4. Will they be given the racing room around the outside of turn 6? I don't think so. The Alpine Esports livery car has to stay put in third for the time being. Thomas Covers sat just behind. ASRT Christian and Even Nice still sat waiting in the wings. Look at how close ASRT Christian is, almost pushing Thomas Covers through 8 and up towards turn number 9. Anyone out of DRS range? No. ET8 Paul is catching this group back up in 13th with Vasquez and Matthias waiting in the wings, being dragged along, but I think they're going to run out of laps to make a real go at the top 10, and also those penalties could probably prove crucial. Thomas Covers with another penalty, and that could be points down the drain for Thomas Covers with 6 seconds. That's most certainly going to throw them outside the top 10 as Talesborough up the inside of Casper Flack reclaims the lead of the race. Thomas Covers up the inside of Moustache, got nothing to lose now, sending up the inside. Was there a bit of contact and a bit of debris potentially from the Alpine Esports livery car and Moustache? Even Nye also went on the offensive trying to get past Christian. Casper Flack takes the lead back down the hill into turn number 4. Talesborough held it for but a moment before relinquishing it once again to the McLaren Esports liveried car. Marius Swan very close to the back of Even Nye. We've got a big train of cars still squabbling. Nordic Ninja, Diogo Silva and Carlitos look pretty happy just to try and consolidate their positions in the bottom half of the top 10 and pick up a couple of points apiece. But it's these drivers from 7th up to 1st that are going to be contesting it very, very hard. Spanias could potentially be in line for a points paying position courtesy of that Thomas Covers penalty, and with Devin having a 3-second penalty as well, watch out for Spanias potentially ending this race in 10th position. Lap 32, 5 to go. Talesborough very close to the back of Casper Flack once again. They can't get enough of each other, these guys. They've been duelling for the whole race, as is the way that the Austrian Grand Prix circuit works. Is that Marius Swurman trying to make a move forward? Talesborough's going to go up the inside of Casper Flack into turn number 3. Marius Swurman on the charge. Thomas Covers under pressure from Moustache, and it's actually Casper Flack who was wide into turn 3. Now under pressure from Thomas Covers. Even 9, Marius Swurman continue to duel it out for 6th and 7th place. Thomas Covers trying to get this 2nd place now. He's not going to score points. He's not going to win this race, barring potentially some dramas for a few drivers later on. But Talesborough's gone deep into turn number 4, and somehow from all of this, Thomas Covers is going to lead the race. What a blunder to make for Talesborough. Tries to keep his nose in up the inside, but it's not going to pay off, and it is Thomas Covers into the lead. Casper Flack down to 3rd. Moustache head of ASRT Christian, and Marius Formula's assault on 8th, on 6th place even 9 was unsuccessful. Wow, what a sequence of corners. It doesn't matter too much for Talesborough because they are still the net race leader courtesy of that 6-second penalty for Thomas Covers. We'll put the penalties up there considering everybody is on the hard compound tyres, and sweeping over to the inside of the circuit is Thomas Covers trying to break the toe. Now, is he going to try and bolt? I doubt he'll be able to pull 6 seconds in 4 laps, but you never know. You don't know unless you try it. That is going to be the mentality Thomas Covers has as we come on to lap 33. Who is that? That is Matthias with their 2nd penalty of the race. Won't make too much of a difference to their final finishing position. Casper Flack was up the inside. Spanias has left the session. Oh no, that was potentially points for Spanias that have gone down the drain. Hugely disappointing. Thomas Covers under pressure. Talesborough's up the inside. Moustache and Casper Flack debate 3rd and 4th. Little bit of lag going on as well. Thomas Covers' run now leads from Casper Flack. Spanias is back in the session, thankfully enough. Needs to try and keep close to the group in front if they're going to pick up 10th place in this race with the 6-second penalty that's going to be applied to Thomas Covers and Devin. I am absolutely losing my voice, but we've got to keep grinding this out for the last 3 laps of this race. Maths is very difficult at this stage as well. Talesborough, once again the leader of this race. Spanias is passed by ASRT, AT8 Paul. ASRT? That's definitely not it. ASRT Christian is ahead of this duel into turn number 1. Marius Formula finally makes the move stick to get past Even Nye, but is going to be under pressure on the exit and the run up the hill into turn number 3, and Even Nye will be chomping at the bit to get 6th place back. Talesborough loses the lead to Casper Flack down into turn number 3. Thomas Covers still holds 3rd ahead of Moustache. ASRT Christian now under pressure from Marius Formula, who seems to have woken up in the final 3 laps of this race, being much more aggressive but couldn't quite make the move stick, and will be satisfied to have got ahead of one of the cars they were waiting to pass. Thomas Covers trying to get 3rd place, or 2nd place, sorry, from Talesborough, which is going to come under pressure from the Alpine Esports livery car and Moustache on the exit also. As we stay in formation, Casper Flack is going to lead the race onto the penultimate lap. Is that the position you really want to be in? We'll have to wait and see if it pays dividends. Marius Formula, the pole sitter, down in 6th. Can they recover on the final lap, or the final couple of laps, it has to be said? Are we up the inside? I think that's ASRT Christian, who went for a huge move up the inside into Jochen Rindt corner of turn number 9. Maybe caught Moustache a little bit napping and potentially spooked them into going a little bit deep. Christian decided not to have an enormous collision with the driver in the Alpine Esports liveried car. Carlitos is now the favourite to pick up a penalty. Christian with a penalty on the start of the penultimate lap. That's going to be them tumbling through the field, and another driver that could be winning this race has just been thrown out of it. It looks like it's going to be Talesbrook versus Casper Flack and potentially Moustache. Casper Flack's pushed off the road though in the battle for the lead up the hill into turn number 3. Talesbrook will take it. Thomas Covers still the menace of all of these drivers in the fight for the lead of the race because of that 6-second penalty. Thomas Covers up the inside into turn number 4. Is there contact with Casper Flack trying to swing it around the outside? Moustache falling behind ASRT Christian. Marius Forman's got to get involved. Look at this cluster of cars battling really hard as Nico sets the fastest lap. I think Moustache, is that going to run out of road on the inside? Yes. ASRT Christian also runs out of track and will stay in 5th place. And somehow, after all the side-by-side action we've had, we're in the same order from 3rd down into 7th place. Who would have thought that? Talesborough's got a half a second lead going round the final couple of corners to start the last lap of this race, which has been an absolute thriller. We don't know who's going to win it. Thomas Covers has dropped a little bit out of the final corner. That could potentially hurt ETA Moustache's chances of winning this race. Same for Marius Forman, who's still boxed in the traffic in 6th place. Hasn't been able to make the progress. This is the first opportunity that Casper Flack or Talesborough is going to have to stake their claim to win the Austrian Grand Prix. The run up the hill into turn number 3. Is Casper Flack going to go for the move or stay behind? The McLaren Esports livery car stays behind, and it's Moustache battling with Thomas Covers for 3rd and 4th place. Marius Forman tried to get up the inside of ASRT Christian but was unsuccessful. This is going to be the move for the race. Talesborough going to have to defend this for his life. Casper Flack to the outside. Talesborough moves back over to the racing line. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? It's Talesborough. Casper Flack's going to run out of room, and Talesborough successfully repels the attack to hold on to the lead of the race. Thomas Covers is in there. Casper Flack going to try and force that McLaren Esports livery car around the outside, but there is not enough room to get up into the lead of the race. Moustache still sat in 4th. That will become 3rd over the line courtesy of Thomas Covers' penalty, but it's not going to be the race win for Moustache or for Marius Forman with the pole sitter, who will have to settle for 4th up to the flag. But moving to the final couple of corners. Who would have thought this? Side by side we go through Rindt and up to turn 10. Both of them surely off the circuit. It's going to be a drag race to the line. Who's going to get it? Talesborough has it for the moment. A little bit of argy-bargy in there, but it was Talesborough by half a tenth. Wow, that was Casper Flack trying everything around the outside into turn number 9. Not a regulation overtaking manoeuvre, but he ripped up the rule book in an attempt to get the win in the final couple of corners, the dying embers of the race, but it was unsuccessful because the spoiler for these guys, Thomas Covers, was such a menace for these guys with a 6-second penalty. Made it even more interesting to watch. I think well, we're not quite sure with the 6-second penalty whether Thomas Covers was actually the first driver over the line, but it is Talesborough, who was caught up in an incident earlier on with Eva Nye, who ended up coming home in 5th place. Now we've just got to put an asterisk next to this because we're not sure if Talesborough, I think it was Talesborough, that came to blows with Eva Nye on lap 6 or 7 into turn number 1. So this race win isn't guaranteed. If a penalty is handed out to Talesborough, it will be Casper Flack that takes it, but we're not going to take it away. That was brilliant from both of the leaders coming into the final lap. Talesborough fought for his life through turn number 4 and was successful. Thought he had it done. Casper Flack obviously had a lot of battery to burn, and burn it he did on the run up to turn number 9. Went for the outside line in the McLaren Esports livery car. So nearly paid off, and I think ran wide through the final corner, which probably compromised them. But in the end, it was by half a tenth that Talesborough beat Casper Flack from 8th on the grid. A brilliant drive to come home to win. Casper Flack will be ruining that failed attempt around the final couple of corners to take the win, but it was a brilliant performance likewise from the McLaren Esports livery car, and then it was Moustache finishing in 3rd. Marius Forman will be disappointed with 4th place. The pole sitter didn't quite have the outright race pace to challenge. Even Nye recovered brilliantly from being spun around early on to finish 5th. Nordic Ninja and Diogo Silva with some very handy points. As for Carlitos, who scores for the first time this season, and ASRT Christian and Thomas Covers with their penalties end up in 9th and 10th. That disconnection for Spanias ultimately costing them finishing 800ths outside the top 10 places. Wow, everybody. What a race that was. Just further down, it was Vasquez, ET8 Paul, and Matthias who got caught up battling each other. Devon with penalties also. Nico and Zane both had difficult weekends, or both had difficult races and qualifying. Jan also caught up, and Darth FIFA retired after getting caught up in an incident about halfway through the Alien cars, not having a successful time in the Styrian mountains of Austria. What a race. We've had 3 incredible races so far this season. I hope everybody that did stick it out through those 36 laps enjoyed it. I haven't done any sponsorship promo. We've just had so much to watch. Everybody that is here, make sure you check out GT Omega. If you go over to GT Omega and use the code PSGL, you can get 5% off all of their gaming equipment. They are a brilliant company with some brilliant products that you can get your hands on. Title sponsor for PSGL. I implore you go over there and get your hands on some brilliant things there. And also, Sim Racing Centre SRC, if you use the promo code PSGL, same as GTMA, you can get 10% off their services, some training, some coaching, some setups, and some strategy guides as well. Kroiki. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? We had a lot of swapping for positions throughout the race, and in the end, it was Talesborough who crossed the line to take the race victory. We'll have to wait and see what the stewards think of the incident that we saw between Talesborough and Even Nye earlier on in the race. But thank you everybody for watching. Once again, shout out to the brilliant sponsors of GT Omega and SRC. Thank you everybody for watching. Next week, where are we heading? Let's get a quick check on that before we sign out. We have a break week next week, actually, don't we? Yes, break week, and then on the 1st of August, I think it will be, we will be, the 5th of August, sorry. 5th of August, we will be in Barcelona for the Spanish Grand Prix round number 4. I hope to see you then. The drivers will probably enjoy a nice week off next week, I would imagine. Thank you everybody for watching. Check out GT Omega and SRC. Links will be in the description. And until next time, I've been Tom in the solo commentary box. Thank you for watching. See you next time.